It's the Tim Anderson Podcast. I'm Tim. Welcome back to another thrilling edition. That's my buddy Ryan over there on the other side of this computer screen. Rhino, my good friend. Good to see you.
Good to be here. Geeked up for NFL free agency here.
Oh, it's going to be a full football pod talk. I promise you this is a Doge-free zone still. There's no Doge. There's no tariff talk. There's no Ukraine, no Putin. There's nothing.
I've had 2 uninterrupted months of politics in my feed. It's so nice to have some football again. I was starting to itch.
Yes, absolutely. It's so great. And you and I, fresh out of the speech meat grinder, where I'm trying to ask Ryan, was last Saturday, I'm trying to think, it was really stressful last 2 weeks prepping for this big national qualifying tournament that we were hosting. But was it like the most satisfying week knowing that we did a good job? Or was it still stress? I mean, do you recall the stress more when we look back on this in 5 years? Will we be more all about the stress of it? Or will we be about the satisfaction of the accomplishment?
I mean, look, I think that the accomplishment is terrific, but it's not really ours.
No, it's not.
You know
ours.
What I mean?
Other than the fact that we executed the tournament. We executed it. We hosted it, and it was executed.
Yeah, and it was good, right? I think we got a lot of compliments.
Rave reviews from the NSDA community.
I'm proud of that. I think you should be proud of that as the guy who hosted and did a lot of the work. And, Will should be proud of that for as much shit as he was talking on Friday night.
Oh, God. That place stunk with his farts for, like, the rest of the night, how proud he was of his work. I mean, it was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable
100%.
work. And he did a lot of it. He more than earned the early exit on Friday afternoon.
100.
He did a ton of work for us, and that's more than appreciated.
Absolutely. He's the best. MVP. And I ate a lot of shit in the last 2 weeks from staff members. It's so nice to move on and have a satisfying day.
Saturday for me was nice, if only for the fact that I got an extended break from speech stuff over lunch where the kids were in rounds because I only had 2 at Egan while you had the rest of the team at South St. Paul. Got to step over to Teresa's restaurant over there in Egan and have some chips and salsa and an enchilada for lunch. And
they have a lovely macho nacho.
Yeah.
I like that over there.
I got the quesadilla tacos and an order of enchiladas.
Ooh.
And I had a nice little Modelo and watched the single A hockey game between, it was a Cathedral and East Grand Forks.
Wonderful.
So I did that while they were in round and got to just kind of chill out and looked at the clock and said, oh my, gotta go. Headed back across the street.
I was super happy with the final result of just our day on. It's like the first Saturday all season where I went home and felt like we did good. We did darn good. Now, granted, I got body shamed by my team like 5 times in a 24-hour cycle.
See,
so
I've been
I'm going to have to. Honestly, it's been on my mind. So I've been dieting hard since Saturday night. I have not gone anywhere.
I have been meaning to talk to you about this. Tim, you can't give him a reaction. The only reason this is happening...
Do you hear what our young sophomore captain said to me on Saturday?
She's trying to get a rise out of you, brother.
Did you hear that comment, though?
She's trying to get a rise out of you, brother.
My audience. She's speaking French with one of her classmates, one of her teammates, right? Because they're first of all, my sophomore captain is tenacious as hell, and she's maybe one of the smartest, most competitive kids in the world, right? She is a go-getter with a capital G, right? So she's speaking French with her classmates and her teammates, and they're over there having fun. And they're like, Anderson, what's up with that? Do you understand what we said? I'm like, no, I got 2 D- in Spanish. 2 D- in Spanish. I got nothing. She goes, bet you got an A in lunch, though.
What a line.
She drops that hammer right in front of the team. And I'm just like, I got nothing. I was punch drunk for the next half hour. I was just like, I felt like Rocky Balboa in round 1 with Drago. Like it was just, I was hanging on for dear life in the corner.
I just had to get up and run a lap. That was incredible.
And it was without thought. Like she snapped it in there. Like she had it in the holster the whole time. Like she was Wyatt Earp.
Oh my God, that's so good. I'm so mad I missed it. I'm so mad I missed that. That's the best thing I've ever heard.
And I'm sitting here, and of course the other kids on the team are like, Sophia, how could you say that? How could you say these things? And she's like, what? What did I say? What did I say? To which I had to go sit in a corner, and all of a sudden Sarah McLachlan songs are going off in my head as I'm trying to judge around. It got out of control.
You're just the Hello Darkness, my old friend from the power trip.
100%. You bet. I haven't eaten a thing since. Well, I have, but I mean, not that much. I haven't gone out.
Well, to be fair, all you had at that tournament was soup.
Yeah, I wasn't eating a goddamn soup. I didn't go home and eat anything either.
The Dave Fonkenel special of lentil soup.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I was just like, and, you know, on Sunday mornings, I like to go to the golf simulator or the driving range.
Sure.
And I like to get, I like to have a little sausage McMuffin with egg in the morning. I like to have a little something. No, not Sunday, I didn't. Tell you that much. Had a bottle of water. It was like, I can't let this kid do this to me. I got to come back stronger next year.
Yeah,
Kid broke me.
And broke two categories.
No kidding. I mean, like I said, the kid is a star, and I love her to death. But she took she was 2 for 2 over the weekend on taking fat shots at Anderson.
The shot she gave you over the donut Friday was crazy.
The donut shot was unbelievable. I mean, you want to talk about just a fucking sniper from 100 feet? I didn't see that coming.
For the audience here, I bought 3 dozen donuts for our team on Friday morning, and I brought them into the tournament that we were hosting. And I sitting down, I'm having an apple fritter. And
sure are. And you notice she didn't say shit to you, by the way. I want to be real clear about that.
And Tim walks up and says, "Yeah, I'm gonna have one of these Cocoa Puff donuts or Cocoa Pebble donuts."
It was an Oreo cookie one, to be fair.
Oreo cookie donuts. And he takes a bite and goes, "I'm gonna get diabetes from this." And Sophia looks at him and goes, "You sure about that? You sure you want to do that, bud?"
Yeah, in the most sarcastic way possible.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
She nailed you.
Yeah, she didn't even stab me in the back. I mean, it was literally shivved right in my stomach. My giblets were on the floor.
She looked you in the eyes like a stone cold killer.
Yeah, it was like a bad episode of Criminal Minds. Like, I looked in the eyes of my killer.
It's actually worse. She didn't look up.
No.
She was doing her makeup. She just kept working.
We talk about dogs and killers all the time, don't you and I, when it comes to football? And I'm just like, that girl's a goddamn killer. She's a killer in the making. Right now, she's just a really aggressive alpha dog. She's moving to killer status.
Yeah, she's almost there too. She's got guns out for everybody. It's nuts.
Oh my God, spared nothing. I went home and wanted to call a therapist.
Maybe you should have.
I don't think she understands just how fragile my mind is during the speech season. But anyway. Enough of that.
That notwithstanding.
That notwithstanding. All right. So enough speech talk. We're 9 minutes into this pod. Hey, I promise you a long pod tonight of football talk. Rhino, the legal tampering period began yesterday. Lots of players have been signed. There's still a lot of players out there.
Quaking with excitement.
I know you are. I think we should start with home, right? Should we start with Sam Darnold and just kind of talk through that and look at how the dominoes fell to get to that spot? I think that's maybe where we should start. First of all, let me ask you, first, the Raiders trade that sent Geno, I think that was the immediate red flags, right? That they went up almost immediately. We saw Geno to the Raiders, we saw DK to the Steelers, and we said, okay, well, that's clearly, they're moving money around, they're making a run at somebody, most likely Darnold, right? And sure enough, Darnold comes together within 24 hours later. Your thoughts on the signing, and and I'll give you credit. You were a 1-year only guy on Sam Darnold for the Vikings. You were not in the talk of extending him and doing stuff like that. You would never were all season long, to your credit. What were your thoughts on all of that?
So I understand the Vikings tried to sign him for close to $60 million over 3 years, or it was a 2-year deal, $60 million, something like that, right? Mm-hmm. Which is less than he's making in Seattle. I think that for both Sam and the Seahawks, this is a horrible deal. I think that he is a downgrade from Geno Smith.
Interesting.
I think that trading away your best weapon on the outside is not a good way to welcome your quarterback, and he's stepping into a situation where I'm gonna lay a couple of things out for you here. Sam Darnold held the ball longer in 2024 than any quarterback in the league.
That is true.
He took a lot of sacks because of it, right? You could argue that the issues on the Minnesota Vikings offensive line were magnified by an indecisive, hesitant quarterback at times, especially in the postseason. I think that Seattle has a significant downgraded offensive line from Minnesota in a number of ways. They have fewer weapons in Seattle. They have a worse play caller in Seattle. They just traded their best weapon away, and you just signed this guy for 3 years was it 3 or 5 years for $100 million?
It was 3 years. It's basically the Baker Mayfield deal. Like, it's not a break the bank Jordan Love, Dak Prescott contract. It's that Baker Mayfield kind of middle of the road deal.
Yeah.
Which is great if it works, but it gets you out from under it in a year if you need to.
This to me this is going to get somebody fired.
Yeah, you're a little worried about Mike McDonald after year one?
Yeah, this to me feels like a huge mistake. This feels like a swing and a miss. This is the third or fourth time this has happened, I think, with quarterbacks recently, where they've had a really good year in one situation for very specific reasons with some pretty glaring flaws. And those flaws get overlooked as though the player's been fixed. And the problem is that Darnold was in a perfect situation, which everybody acknowledged at draft time, that whichever quarterback Minnesota took was stepping into the best possible situation for a rookie QB, right? That was the talk last year during the draft, and J.J. McCarthy ended up being the guy, right? That whichever quarterback came in, as long as they could fit the system that Minnesota was trying to run, Kevin O'Connell was going to turn him into a good quarterback for a year at least, right? And Darnold showed that the system works, O'Connell's stuff works, McCarthy's going to be fine. Great, Minnesota can move on. But Seattle takes the wrong lessons from that. He's still holding the ball too long. He's still making poor decisions under pressure. He's still missing key throws in big spots. He was carried by a receiving core that was able to catch and run and got him a lot of his touchdowns on yards after the catch. He was bolstered by a really good defense that made up for a lot of mistakes that he made through the year by forcing turnovers and limiting teams to small amounts of points, right? The margin for error was wider because of a really good defense. None of those things are present in Seattle. So I think this was a mistake.
How much of because I feel like the Vikings were ready to talk themselves into this in like week 12, week 13. Hell, I probably was too, right? How much did the last 2 weeks, those last two games, the Sunday night game in Detroit, which was the biggest game of the season for them to lose that game, and then that obviously the no-show against the Rams in the playoffs, how much did those two games allow the Vikings to get off the hook? Because I think that was going to be an unpopular move to let Sam go at the end of the year and go back to JJ and without those two games. Like, say they win a playoff game or they make a deep run to the NFC title game. I think that would have been a really tough move to sell. And I feel like it got easier after those two games happened.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the case. I think it'd be naive to overlook those two games. But again, I mean, I was saying all year, I don't think that the plan was ever to keep him. I think they wanted to keep him at a certain price point, but the market was never going to allow that after the year that he had. Someone was going to pay him. So you have to try, and there were always going to be reports that they did try because, you know, the reputation in Minnesota is that they take care of their guys. And you offer him a fair deal. It's not market rate for him, but he's free to go somewhere else. But it was up to him, right? You need two to tango, and he decided he wanted to go and chase the money in a worse situation. Minnesota offered what they would have paid him to come back, and I think it was a fair amount. But they looked around and said, we have a lot of holes. You're going to be an expensive guy. We've got a rookie who's on the bench right now, who's recovering from an injury, but we think he's going to be really good. This is what we're willing to pay.
I guess I'm a little bit concerned only from this perspective. I totally understand letting him go, right? I totally do. And I see why you'd want to go with McCarthy. But it also makes me go back to the Daniel Jones thing and say, like, okay, well, you got him off waivers. I kept thinking he's the perfect backup because he's a veteran. You know, he's young and he's going to be okay to step in here if he needs to. And now Daniel Jones signs with the Colts today, 1 year, $14 million. You have Nick Mullins, who signed with Jacksonville. And now you have this hole behind McCarthy as the quarterback and what's out there to go get to plug in behind JJ going forward. I really thought, like, it did thin out what was once a pretty deep quarterback room.
Well, and if you believe you have the guy, then you have no problems right now. You're just looking for someone who can step in, right?
Right.
So let's look at who's out there. Russell Wilson's out there. I don't think that he would take a backup job, but that might be all he gets. Right?
Fair.
Jameis Winston is out there. He's a career backup at this point. He could be a guy you go get. And, Jameis Winston.
Actually, wouldn't hate that.
I mean, Jacoby Brissett has done well stepping in spots. He's a mobile
Did he just
guy.
sign, though? Didn't he sign with Arizona? I think he
did. I just refreshed my PFF page. They may not have updated yet.
I might have to look that up while you talk. Keep going.
Has Marcus Mariota signed? Because he'd be another guy that would fit this system. He's a good, mature quarterback that kind of fits the same kind of mold that J.J. McCarthy is. I think those two guys would get along, and I think that it would be a good thing. If you really want a veteran presence, Joe Flacco's out there.
Joe Flacco, yeah, good point.
What
about Aaron Rodgers? There's a lot of talk about Rodgers now. Are you here?
Here's the thing with Rodgers, right? Rodgers is not going to sign anywhere for a backup job.
That's true. You'd have to be willing to give him the keys. You'd have to throw him the keys for the year.
All of the moves that Minnesota has made indicate that they are building around J.J. McCarthy.
Jacoby to the Arizona Cardinals. Yes, he did sign. He's going to sign a free agent deal there.
Sure. All right. Well, that one's off the table, but there's other guys there. Mac Jones is out there.
Oh, goody.
Old McCorkle.
That's exciting stuff. You're right, though. You're right. It's not the end of the world. There's options out there.
And then there's still the draft, right? You could pick up a 7th-round pick and go get Curtis Rourke from Indiana, who could be a decent backup guy for you.
Sure. There's lots of options. I mean, hell, they put Curtis Painter behind Peyton Manning for 1,000 years. It doesn't matter.
Correct.
Right? If JJ's healthy and can play, who cares, right? Another interesting thing around the league that I'm noticing is, first of all, there were two, like Deebo Samuel getting traded from San Francisco to Washington. I thought that was a really interesting move. For Washington, it tells me like, hey, we're going all in. Yep. We're trying to win the East next year, and we're trying to run to the Super Bowl. And for San Francisco, it feels like the bells are tolling for the end.
Well, San Francisco feels like this is the first of a couple of years of a rebuild, just restocking the shelves. They got rid of some guys who were injury prone, some big price tags on guys. This feels like the year where they're going to move a lot of guys for draft picks, pick up a lot of talent, and get really good really fast again because they still have that core that they can build around. They still obviously believe in Brock Purdy, which is why you move the weapons and not the quarterback. Because you better believe there would have been a market for Brock Purdy had they made him available with the amount of teams that needed a QB. But they clearly still believe in that. They've done this before. They've done quick turnovers.
That's true. They have.
Before. If there's one front office I trust, it's San Francisco right now. They've given me no reason to.
They make good moves. They seem to flip when they need to flip. They seem like they get out on the right time for guys. Like they get out a year early, not a year late. The only real whiff is Trey Lance.
Yeah, and they made up for that quickly.
They sure did.
And look, the only other in front office right now I think that's doing better work is Philadelphia.
Yeah. Although they traded C.J. Gardner-Johnson today, which I thought was kind of interesting, right?
For a really good package, though. They pick up a guard in Kenyon Green who can play tackle. And with the age on their offensive line, the ability to swing from guard to tackle is going to be big for them. And he's a big-bodied, physical run blocker that's going to fit right into that system. So I like the trade from Philadelphia's side, but I also like the trade from Houston's side, where they pick up a need for themselves. They haven't had a great secondary the last couple of years, and you go get somebody with experience who can kind of sit back there and play ball hawk and play the run. I like the trade for them. The bigger trade for me was trading Laramie Tunsil.
Yeah, that was surprising too. You're right. I was kind of surprised. That one took me by surprise as well.
But it tells me...
I didn't think their line was that great in the first place. I feel like they need all the pieces, don't you think?
It tells me that they're picking up draft capital so they can go retool their offensive line. I think that they want to get both younger and more agile. I don't think that this is a team that's going to be run-focused. They want to build around their quarterback. The way that CJ Stroud was getting beat up last year, especially on that left side,
severely last year. Yeah, big regression.
They are. This is a firm point at the offensive line and saying, this was the problem. This is what we're fixing. Here's how we're moving forward. And they moved a couple of big guys, couple of big names for some improvements on defense and a ton of draft capital. So good on them. I think it was a good move to pick up Laramie Tunsil from the Dolphins a few years ago. It's a better move to trade him now.
I kind of agree. What about the Browns? Because here's my thought. Myles Garrett rolls in, and I think that's Myles Garrett's in his prime, but I would argue on like the back of his prime. Like, I don't think he's like entering his prime, right? I think that's safe to say. And when he comes into my office and demands a trade, I got to tell you, I'm giving it to him because my team's going nowhere. I need picks. I need players. I need all of that stuff. The idea that they would turn around and give him new money to keep him and then like say, oh, we'll go out and we'll fix all this. We'll fix all these pieces. Dorian Thompson-Robinson's left. He signed with, I don't know where he went, Philadelphia. I don't know. He's gone
now. They traded him, I think, for Kenny Pickett.
Yep. They traded to get Kenny Pickett. And I'm just like, all right, so Jameis is gone. Deshaun Watson's not going to play. No Dorian Thompson-Robinson. You're starting completely over at quarterback. The only guy you have in the house is Kenny Pickett. And you give a ton more guaranteed money to Myles Garrett. With all due respect, that was the time to trade him for 2 to 3 picks. That was the time to like, hey, we're going to blow this up. Like, we're going to get rid of all of the big money assets. We're going to acquire like 7 picks, and we're going to do what Houston did. We're going to totally rebuild by taking 2 really good players in the top 10, and we're going to get rolling. And it didn't happen. This is what losing franchises do.
Yeah. There's a reason they call them the factory of sadness, Tim. I mean, they just make poor decision after poor decision after poor decision. I mean,
and I don't know what it gets you. What is Myles Garrett? You're not winning with him. So why pay him more money?
Yeah. I mean, what we're doing is we're trying to parse some nonsense here, right? You say this all the time. You're asking me to make sense out of nonsense. It's nonsense, right? There's no good reason to pay him that kind of money. I mean, granted, you get good production out of him. He's one of the better run defenders in the league.
Sure.
He's an excellent pass rusher. But a pass rusher isn't going to fix your hole at quarterback. It's not going to fix the problems that you have on offense now that Nick Chubb can't play anymore, right? The crux of your offense is gone. What are you doing?
You're just moving the deck chairs here. I mean, it's the ship is going down and we're moving the furniture. We're drowning and we're describing the water. Like, it's unbelievable to me. Another interesting one that I thought I wanted to bring up at least 1 or 2 more for you here. Well, we kind of just mentioned it. Daniel Jones to Indianapolis. That is meant to be, I think, clear competition for Anthony Richardson. Why not stay in Minnesota? Like, he could have taken probably, $7-8 million to stay here, $10 million to stay here. The Vikings could have given him the Sam Darnold deal. You would have walked into a way better situation. There's a better chance here that if you got in the lineup, you'd actually win. What do you get going to Indianapolis?
I think a couple of things need to be pointed out here. 1, we haven't heard any reporting that Minnesota offered him anything. 2, he has a chance to start in Indianapolis. He has a very small chance to start in Minnesota.
True.
Right? This is all the reporting right now is saying this is JJ McCarthy's job.
Well, it officially is now. There's not even a conversation.
Right. There's no backup that can challenge him. The team has been setting up for 2 years for him to step in and take the reins this year. This was the plan, right? Injury notwithstanding, it was a good excuse to get him off the field and prevent larger injury, make sure he's taken care of, right? To get his mind right, get him up to playing weight, keep him in the facility, right? Get him to know, the whole team knows him. Sam Darnold comes in, and if Sam Darnold would have been a flop, right, makes it an easier move on. It's McCarthy's team, but it's McCarthy's team this year. It was always going to be. Daniel Jones knows that. Daniel Jones he didn't get an offer. I'm going to Indianapolis. He didn't want to be a backup, right? There are guys, like I listed, there are guys here who can be backups. He's not going to be one of them. He didn't want to be one of them.
What about the Rodgers thing? Does Rodgers end up in Pittsburgh like everybody kind of thinks is going to happen? Or is there some weird team out there, some weird scenario that plays itself out where Rodgers is on some other team besides the Steelers?
I mean, I think that there's a couple of places that would want him, but Pittsburgh seems to make the most sense for him. At least in the idea that culturally Mike Tomlin has been historically more tolerant of players' bullshit if they perform. I don't know a whole lot of other coaches or organizations in the NFL that are going to be okay with Aaron Rodgers, like Pittsburgh would be. Certainly not in a backup role, so you can rule out Minnesota. We know Geno Smith's in Vegas now. That rules out Vegas. San Francisco's clearly all in on a rebuild, and they're probably going to stick with Purdy while he's on a rookie deal. Is he on a rookie deal? I don't know if he isn't or not anymore. He might not be.
That's just it. They're he's looking for his money now. And like, what do you do with him? Like, how do you can't give him $40 million a year, can you?
Yeah. So I don't think anything on the West Coast makes sense for him. Obviously Darnold signs in Seattle, so that rules that out. There's just not a whole lot of jobs left for Aaron Rodgers other than Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh seems to make the most sense. Defensively, they're competitive in the way that New York was for a long time in that season before they fired Robert Saleh. I think, that they have the weapons that you would look for in a team that's going to sign a veteran quarterback to make a run now. They have an offensive line that can hold up. I think the question is kind of that right side and if they can run the ball. But they proved last year that, Jaylen Warren can run the ball, right?
That's true. Yeah.
He can move. So it's anybody's ball game, but I would say that Pittsburgh makes the most sense for him. Not just because that's what the pundits say, but like you look at the field and it doesn't make a lot of sense for him to go anywhere else.
Couple of rapid fires. Who's your favorite free agent signing so far? Like which one that you're like, wow, that team, that was a great signing. That was home run stuff.
I mean, I hate to say this, but I thought the Bears have had a killer good free agent period.
Really feels like it, right?
With the trades they've made and a couple of signings that they've had. Hold on, I'm looking through my tracker here trying to get through a lot of this, but I mean, I really like a lot of what Minnesota's done.
Yeah, they've done well.
Especially today, I thought, addressing the interior offensive line with 2 Pro Bowlers, a second team All-Pro at guard and a 4-time Pro Bowler at center is I think a crazy good get for them.
And then keeping Byron Murphy as well. Big one. Nice one to get.
Getting 2 very good veteran defensive tackles that can rotate in at the nose spot, I think is a good thing. But I think overall, I would say that, the Bears have killed it. The Bears have done a really good job. I think that the Patriots have made a couple of splashes that were surprising, but to me, the bigger deals have been the trades, right? These trades that have happened across the league with offensive linemen going to the Bears and to the Commanders and the Texans offloading their old linemen, like the shuffling of players was a little unexpected, I think.
Yeah, more trades than I was expecting too. I agree with you. Like, seems like teams are trying to move and pick swap and do some different stuff, get creative with their salary cap and trying to move some different things. So that's kind of interesting to watch.
To answer your question with one answer is off the board here from what I've said so far. Dre Greenlaw with the Broncos. That is the kind of like hand in glove fit that I think if he stays healthy, he's going to be a game wrecker for the Broncos.
That was a good get. I liked that signing by them. I thought they've, and it sounds like Cooper Kupp's going to go there and check it out tomorrow. Wouldn't be surprised if that's a place for him to maybe go.
One other place to watch released. For Cooper Kupp. Minnesota.
Ooh.
A couple of insiders saying that they don't believe that he is a full-time wide receiver 1 anymore, but if he's going to be in the 3-4 rotation, getting 15, 20 snaps a game, his body can take that, and he'll be very good in a system that knows how to use him.
100%. I actually liked Hassan Reddick to Tampa Bay because it's a 1-year, $14 million. You're not losing anything, right? You get exactly what you wanted. You're going to get a guy who's young, who's talented. Well, he's not really young. He's 30 years old now, but he's got talent. Like, he can help you still. Like, I think that's a good pick for them. I really like that. Justin Fields to the Jets is interesting to me. I don't know if it's a great signing, but I don't hate it either because he's young, he's athletic, new coach, new coordinator, fresh start. They need they have one weapon at wide receiver, right? But I mean, Garrett Wilson, they need him to be better. They need him to go back to the form that he previously had. But I kind of like it, don't you? I mean, a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good signing. I think he's a guy that's a good athlete on the edge that can apply good pressure with speed. And that's kind of what they need in Tampa Bay right now. They were missing that last year, the ability to rush the passer, and their defense suffered for it. Here's one other one that I want to throw at you that most people aren't going to talk about, but I think this is an underrated player going to a really good situation. Christian Fulton signing with the Kansas City Chiefs, corner.
Yeah.
Has not had a great first few years of his career. I guess now he's been in the league almost 10 years now. Still got a lot of the tank, right? Still a good player, but just never really panned out. Here he's going to get to play a little bit more man slot, and I think that that's his game. It was his game at LSU. He's not as handsy as he used to be, so he's cut down on the penalties quite a bit over his career. Going to Kansas City and playing on that defense is going to be good for him.
I agree. That's a good one. I also, one thing I will say that I thought was kind of I get why the Vikes didn't sign him, but letting Cam Bynum go to the Colts, 4 years, 60 is a lot to ask. I think for him, but he was a really solid player for us these last couple of years for Minnesota. So like him going to Indianapolis, a tough loss, but I think, you can make up for that in a draft. You can make up for that somewhere else down the road, I would like to think.
Yeah, I just worry about the safety depth. Does not feel like Minnesota has much of a safety room with Harrison Smith kind of out there right now.
Yeah.
And Cam Bynum gone. I'd like to see them go with someone like Justin Simmons. If they can get him, if he's still out there. There's just not a whole lot of guys left, right? Maybe Von Bell, kind of a veteran that you could put back there that has had a number of years in the league now. He's 30. But just a couple of safeties that can play physical, can play the run, but also know how to cover. You're going to miss that sort of wily veteran back there.
Yeah, you let go. Stephon Gilmore's still out there. He's a corner, but he's out there. And you're right, Justin Simmons is out there. There's a number of decent corners still out there that you could add. Asante Samuel's still out there. There's some pieces that you can go and add.
I do think you'll probably see them go corner in the draft.
You're right about that.
This doesn't feel like a good safety class. And I'd like to see them sign a safety. I really wanted Javon Holland, but for him to sign a 3-year, $45 million deal with the Giants kind of precludes the Vikings from signing him. They probably don't want to spend quite that much on a veteran safety.
Don't blame you there. Yeah, some names that are still out there. We'll see where they end up. Amari Cooper, I feel like it's kind of over for him. Asante Samuel Jr.'s out there. Cam Robinson, Stephon Diggs, Tevin Jenkins, Javon Hargrave, Levi Onwuzurike is out there. Evan Ingram, Calais Campbell, Josh Myers. A lot of linemen who could help you, but older linemen. The only young guy that's interesting is edge rusher Azeez Ojulari. Kind of wouldn't hate that. DeMarcus Lawrence is out there. It's just some guys like that. Joey Bosa still sitting out there a little bit.
Joey Bosa's a guy I'd like. You'd like to see Joey Bosa get a deal. I feel like he can still play. He's been hurt a little bit the last couple of years, but we also know that Chargers training staff is not great.
Might be better under Harbaugh, but previous regimes, not great.
And that's the majority of his career. Also, little conspiracy Ryan here. Of course, Harbaugh comes in and lets go of the Ohio State Buckeye guy.
Aha!
Of course that happens, huh? Weird. He's under 30. Weird that happens then. I'm kidding.
Weird. He walked in and he was like, man, I've kind of had an ass full of this guy. Don't really like his attitude, his pomposity. Get out of here.
It's all right. He'll go sign somewhere like, with John Harbaugh and play well.
That's very possible that could be. So that's any other notes we should add, or are we still in the waiting period a little bit? Maybe we'll have to revisit this soon.
I think we're going to have to revisit this. There's enough big names out there that I think we could see some teams get a lot better very quickly. And I still think that there's some trades that could get made. I think there's been some rumors floating around for a couple of days that the Jets may be trying to find a suitor for Sauce Gardner for a ton of picks. That would immediately improve a number of rosters on defense.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if that has any truth to it. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens quickly. And then, look, one of the bigger contenders in the league has been exceptionally quiet.
Yeah.
Detroit's in the corner, and they haven't done anything since.
That's true. We have been waiting on that.
So that, between them and Green Bay, they really haven't done anything. Also, sorry, worth noting here as I look through this, it's not just Laramie Tunsil and Kenyon Green for Houston that they got rid of. They also released the other guard, Shaq Mason.
And those were
So
just big names too, right? Those were just guys that had names, but maybe haven't lived up to stuff this year.
Yeah, they ended up signing guard Laken Tomlinson, who's pretty good. Kind of needs a prove-it deal, but he's all right on a 1-year, $4 million deal. But there's a lot of turnover on the offensive line there for
big turnover on the line, yeah. And there's some desperation out there too with some teams, and that's why I wonder if we'll see some big swings here soon, because there are some coaches that need to win now, like Jonathan Gannon in Arizona, Shane Steichen in Indianapolis. I think there's pressure on Brian Callahan in Tennessee. There's Mike McDaniels down in Miami's got pressure. I think there's a lot of coaches that are kind of like on shaky ground. And so you wonder if they're going to take some big swings here to try to secure things. Not that DeMeco Ryans is in that situation. I don't think he is. But like, there are some coaches, though, they're going to start to maybe take some aggressive moves, and you wonder what that will do.
I do want one quick moment of silence, Tim.
It's yours.
The Vikings lost Johnny Munt.
Oof, wow. I want to remind our listeners that you wanted Johnny Munt ran out of town.
I did, and I do.
14. So, like, this is not a sad day for you at all.
No. I'm mostly making fun of his name. That clown can go anywhere else he wants.
Yeah, a name like Johnny Munt, I would punch my mom in the face if that was my name. Like, if you named me Johnny Munt and my dad, I would kick my dad in the nuts with a running start.
How did you
do you know how close I was to being Al Anderson III? I mean, literally, I would have kicked my dad in the nuts with a running start.
You could get the old AA sticks, like the 3 sticks on the old speech pullover.
I could be Al 3 Sticks. Yeah,
that's right. you get the AA3 on the old Anoka speech stuff.
Yeah, I thought about double A cubed. You know, how good is that? You know, A squared cubed. Oh man,
get me to design a Nike style logo for you.
Oh God! Now you know. Maybe I would take that back. Maybe I would change. No, I'm kidding. I won't be doing that anytime soon. You can't be Al when you're fat. Like, you can't be fat over it.
You know what? That's
terrible. Terrible move. What do you think my speech kids would be doing to me now if we did that?
Fair. That's a good point. Especially if they saw you 15 years ago.
What if they act? And thank God Fat Albert's not on TV. Kids don't know anything. Thank Christ. But just imagine one guy sits on YouTube one night and fired it up. All of a sudden, I'm called a bunch of names.
God.
They like, look, it's Fat Albert and Rerun as you and I walk into the room. Do you imagine how that would be? Anyway. Sorry.
I got it for you.
Thank you very much.
You took a shot at me there, but I'm going to let it go.
Well, hey, it's Rerun and I'm Fat. I took a shot at me first. What the hell are you talking about? Anyway. One of the other reasons why we went on this draft this night, Ryan, is 5 years ago, next month, you, me, and Zach sat down during COVID. We are actually at the anniversary of lockdown. Like, we're right there. Like, I think we're right there. Like, the 12th or 11th was like, that's lockdown time.
Is that when Rudy Gobert
started touching microphones and became the most unlikable human being for 5 minutes in the world? And then we realized, like, there's actually way worse people than that.
Yeah. We all lost toilet paper for 2 months.
Yeah, and then the next day, you're watching people spraying Lysol on their kids as they get off school buses, like just craziness. But you and I and Ryan and Zach sat down and said, we got to figure out a way to hang out on draft night. And so we decided to basically do a live podcast on the 2020 draft that night.
Yep.
And that launched the Tim Anderson podcast. From here, 5 years later, Rhino, here we are. So I thought, I know, right? I thought to get to the draft coming up this year, you and me should hit back in the old DeLorean. We should go back to the Wayback Machine, go back to 2020, and we're going to revisit drafts. We're going to start with 2020 tonight and look at the first round, 2021, 2022, and 2023. I think anything other than that, and we're kind of not projecting honestly, but I think we get a pretty good read on these 4 drafts. I think in the next couple of weeks, we're going to hammer these out, starting with 2020 tonight on the back end of this draft.
Let's get this son of a bitch up to 88 miles an hour and get back there.
Let's go. Let us do this right now. Let's head back to the Wayback Machine. We're going to play a little game called Hit or Miss. Hit or miss, and we have a little meh. You could throw in a third if you really want to, but I think hit or miss. My formula was this, Rhino. We both looked at all the picks from the 2020 draft. I think if you are one of the first 10 picks to be a hit, you got to be an all-pro star player major league contributor to your team. You can't just be on the roster still, but like you got to be a factor and maybe even an all-pro. And on down the line from that, my curve shifts a little bit. Like the later first round, if you're a starter and you're still playing and you're still on the roster and you're contributing in a way, okay, I can maybe call that a hit. We can talk ourselves into it. And I think, honestly, looking back at this, Ryan, this 2020 first round is pretty damn good. There's a lot of good picks in this draft. Can't wait to talk about it with you.
Yeah.
You ready?
For it. Let's do it.
All right. I'm going to go from the top. See if my listeners at home can remember the first pick of the 2020 draft on COVID from LSU. The Cincinnati Bengals took Joe Burrow.
That's a hit, right?
We would agree. That's a hit.
There's no question about it. I mean,
lived up to the hype. He's been great.
One of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Defense stinks. Like he threw up a gazillion yards last year and they didn't make the playoffs. And it really just felt like the whole time, like, you know what? At some point, the defense has to stop somebody.
Yep.
Right.
Not his fault.
Good God, man.
It ain't his
Joe
fault.
Burrow. We liked him. That's a hit. This one's interesting because he's no longer on the team. People kind of like him name-wise. Chase Young. I think this is a miss.
I go meh.
Meh.
Because he had a really good rookie year.
Yep.
He looked amazing to start. He got hurt, and then he fell off. So
and he wasn't a factor really in. I mean, he's an okay player in San Francisco, but not great, right?
No, he was a rotational guy.
Yeah.
Right. And now he's with the Saints, but he's not starting.
Yeah, he's a miss. Top two picks got to be factors. Do you think that's just injury related, or do you think there's other reasons?
I do. I also think there was some wear and tear at Ohio State because he was a 4-down player. I have this theory. I've had this theory about Alabama running backs forever that I don't like drafting Alabama running backs who run the ball 3 downs because they just run the shit out of their backs.
That's fair.
And there's basically like 2-3 years left of tread on the tire by the time you get them.
With the exception of Derrick Henry. You're 100% right.
Yep. He's a freak, right?
Yep,
I think we'd all agree that he's a freak. But outside of he's the exception, not the rule. I think the same thing about a lot of defensive players, right? I think about Wisconsin linebackers, Ohio State defensive linemen, and Michigan interior D linemen. Like those guys all get so much run in college that there's just not a ton left when they get here. And if one injury derails your career, like again, he was a defensive rookie of the year guy his first year. The trajectory was there. He gets hurt and it's all derailed. I think that's a meh.
Washington ends up, everything looks like it's going totally pear-shaped for Washington because they're looking at these picks and they're like, God damn, we got nobody to play quarterback. We got nobody here. All these picks haven't worked out. They hit one home run this year with Jaden Daniels and everything looks different, doesn't it? I mean, it's just amazing how that works. But our thought in 2020 would have been, this Washington team just can't get a break.
Yep. Chase Young looked like he was going to be the cornerstone of that defensive rebuild.
Right. Third pick, Detroit Lions. In this moment, we're in absolute dire straits with Matt Patricia as the head coach. Took Jeff Okudah. And this
was a miss.
This is a total miss, right? Total miss. Hence, Matt Patricia gets fired at, I think, year's end, right? He coaches the 2020 season. He's out in 21, right?
This guy was supposed to be his guy. Like this was Okudah in college was the best man coverage corner in the country that year. And he comes to Detroit and it completely derails. And that's supposed to be the system that Matt Patricia's running. And, he's supposed to be a perfect fit. And all of a sudden, Jeff Okudah can't cover. Jeff Okudah can't tackle. He's in weird positions. Like it's not working. And now his whole career has been derailed. I just looked on PFF. He has like a 57 coverage rating last year for the Houston Texans. Like gross. Like this guy was not a hit at all. Not even a meh. He's a big miss.
So 3 picks in the draft from Ryan, and we've got a hit, a meh, and a miss. Let's go to number 4. Andrew Thomas for the New York Football Giants.
This feels like a hit.
You like this one?
Yeah, Thomas is one of the better tackles in the league, I believe, right?
God, do I like him? I don't know if I do. Is he good?
I'm pretty sure. If I'm remembering who this is correctly, yeah, he's one of the better guys in the league. Yeah, no, this is him. He's absolutely a hit.
Okay, that's a hit.
This is a guy who I would look at New York and say you're wasting his career.
Although what I don't like, it goes against my theory though, Rhino. I don't like taking non-skill players in the top 10. I want game-breaking, dynamic guys. So I want quarterbacks, I want wide receivers, I want edge rushers, I want linebackers, I want corners in the first. In a tight end, sure, maybe, but I'm not taking nose tackles and I'm not taking linemen.
If you want, because remember, this is a year after they had Daniel Jones.
Fair.
Right? You want to protect your franchise guy, the guy you believe is your franchise guy.
Yeah.
I'm taking that left tackle. And he has been their stalwart. He has been their guy since this draft.
But they don't win as a result of it. I need impact players. That's the only thing.
It's not his fault, right? They had impact players. They have impact players. The problem is the rest of the line sucks, and their quarterback was a complete failure.
Number 5. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, that's fair enough. See, this is an interesting one. So we have 2 hits, a miss, and a meh. We're going to keep track of this. I better actually write this down because I don't want to lose track of this. Because I got to know what Ryan's thinking. We've got 2 hits, we got a miss, and we got a meh. All right, next one. Tua Tagovailoa.
This one for me is a meh.
Yeah, it's a meh. It's a meh. It's not quite a miss. It's not quite a miss because he's been on the team all 5 years. He's a contributor, and when he's healthy, he's a pretty good player. But for me, he's got to be, I think, at least a meh, right? It has to be a meh because he's hurt all the time. He's one concussion away from being just completely out of the league, and you just feel like it's tenuous at best to stake your future on Tua right now, right? So yeah, I've got him as a meh too. I'm with you.
You can't tie your wagon to a guy who every year you're wondering if he's going to come back.
Yeah. I'm with you on meh. I completely agree. How about the next guy? The Chargers took Justin Herbert.
Now, I
think his reputation buys him a hell of a lot more than what he's actually done.
I have been, on this podcast, a huge supporter of Justin Herbert.
Staunch. Some would argue staunch.
I love Justin Herbert.
You sure do.
This is a meh.
It's a meh. I agree. It's not a hit. He has not proven that he's a big time guy. He hasn't proven it yet.
He feels like California Josh Allen in all the worst ways. Right? Yeah. He's not taking a hit. He is, he's going to throw the pick in the big situation. He wants to be a gunslinger, but he doesn't really throw it. And now you're in a situation where your coach is not really a throw first coach.
Yep.
So he's a meh.
He's not going to ever be like, I don't have him in the top 10. Like, you could name 10 guys better than him right now, can't you?
Oh, I don't know.
If you can't name 10 guys better, then it's got to be a hit. But I think I can name 10 guys I'd rather have.
Where's
maybe we should do that. Well, let's figure it out. Let's just start with, you'd obviously take Mahomes.
Yep.
You'd obviously take Josh Allen.
Yep. Lamar Jackson.
You'd obviously take Lamar, right? So there's the clear 3, right?
Yep. Jalen Hurts.
You'd take Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts won a Super Bowl.
Yep. I'd take
Jalen Hurts won playoff games. Would you take Jared Goff?
Right now, yep. Joe Burrow.
I'd take Joe Burrow. That's 6. Would you take, I guess I'd take Baker Mayfield. Give me a tough guy that's won a playoff game. Don't you feel like you'd take Baker Mayfield? Would you take Jordan Love?
No, I'd take Justin Herbert over Jordan Love.
Would you take him over Jaden Daniels?
No, I'd take Jaden over Justin.
Would you take him over Matt Stafford?
Yes, because of age.
Would you take him over Trevor Lawrence?
100 times.
CJ Stroud?
No, that's 10.
That's already 10, right? And there's other guys we haven't even named yet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's close to 10.
And there's probably other guys, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if we start really going down the list here, would you take him over Dak?
Yes, I'd take him over Dak.
It's close though on Dak though, isn't it? It's not like
I don't think so. I think if you put Justin Herbert in the Cowboys offense, I think they're significant.
Would you take him over JJ McCarthy right now?
No.
Would you take him over Sam Darnold right now?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Geno?
But that's about the line, right? That Sam Darnold, Geno Smith line?
Yeah. I mean, that's where I wouldn't have him any higher than that.
And those
I feel
guys
like
are
there's
meh.
13 guys I'd rather have.
Those guys are meh.
I agree. So that's a meh. Okay, 6 guys in. We have 3 meh, 2 hits, and a miss. 7, Derek Brown to the Carolina Panthers.
This is a big hit.
Big hit.
Big
You
hit.
like what he's doing in Carolina?
Derek Brown's been a force. He's a game wrecker.
I like, honestly, too, I love what they got going for. I kind of bought them late last year. I thought Bryce Young showed something last year at the end of the year, like a little bit of chutzpah. They were kind of a fun watch late in the season last year. Kind of liked them. They were kind of a fun red zone team. Isaiah Simmons to the Arizona Cardinals.
This one's a miss.
Yeah. This has not worked out, has it?
Well, and he's no longer with the team.
That also helps. All right, if you're not there.
He's with the Giants now.
That's true. How about C.J. Henderson to Jacksonville at pick 9?
See, this one's meh to me because he was good for a while, and then he seemed to fall off. And now, again, he's no longer with the team.
Seems like they might suck. Yeah, and he's not even there, so it's like a meh miss. How about
oh, man. When he played, look at this. He played 2020. I don't think he's ever put up a coverage grade over 50.
I think he's a miss.
His rookie year. Yeah, you might be right. He's a miss.
So we're 3-3-3 through 9 picks. 3-3-3. How about pick 10, Jedrick Willis Jr.?
Jedrick Wills is a
Wills.
Meh.
I'm sorry, Wills. Yeah, it's a meh.
He's a meh. I don't think he's
it's not all his fault. I don't think he's a bad player, but he's in a shit situation.
Yeah. I think most of anybody who gets drafted by the Browns, we kind of have to give them the Browns bump where, your grades might not look great, but look where you went to school. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. You and I might differ on this one. Mekhi Becton is at pick 11. I think he's a miss because he didn't work out for the Jets. Injury prone, not a hard worker. He's already a free agent. And he's only going to be on his 3rd team already in 5 years. Like, to me, he's just not a big time player.
All right, I'm with you. You convinced me. He's a miss.
He's on the Jets and they stink. That's just it. They had all these offensive line issues for Zach Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. They get this young guy and he still stinks. It's like, yeah, sorry, you don't get credit for that. This one's interesting. I think it's an automatic miss, but it's a miss by default. It's Henry Ruggs the 3rd.
Boy, he liked to go fast.
Yeah, went fast.
We're going to call him Elon Musk. Move fast and break things.
And ruin lives. Very good at that as well.
Yeah.
Very good at that.
That's that.
Yeah, obvious miss though, right? I mean, it's unfortunate because maybe it's like the Raiders, that's where, honestly, that was the bad harbinger to Vegas, I think, right? Where you're sitting there going, isn't that everybody's worst fear about Vegas? Is like if you get a hot shot player and he's young and he's 21 and you give him a lot of money and you let him drive on the Vegas Strip and you let him do all that, like all hell breaks loose. Like that's always my concern.
That was like the last 1st-round pick of the Gruden era, right?
I think you're right, yeah. Because Gruden, I think, was fired that year for Pit Boss Rich, right?
Yeah.
Or 21. It was either 20 or 21 years where he was fired, yeah.
God, I watch football.
God, so we're at 3 hits, 5 misses, 4 mez. Here's a hit, though. Tristan Wirfs.
Yeah, big hit.
To Tampa Bay. This is a big hit. They drafted him with the sole purpose of protecting Tom Brady and winning a Super Bowl. And it worked out pretty well, I would say. I think that was a good move. It worked out. They got a Super Bowl out of it. And he was a starter. How about Javon Kinlaw at pick 14?
I think this is a hit.
Yeah.
They can't sign him this year because of some financial stuff that they're going through. But he was a starter. He played really well for them. This was a good pick for them. So I'll give them the hit on this.
Hit for Javon Kinlaw. Here comes the ultimate meh. 15, Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, God, he just didn't put it together, did he?
Yep.
He looked like an all-star in college. He looked so good.
There are times he looks the part in the NFL. Like he'll make a play and you're like, oh man, that guy. Yeah, Jerry Jeudy. That's right. And then you're like, he makes 3 catches for 40 yards.
Yeah, but they're going to be the best three catches you've seen.
Yeah, no kidding. So here we are, 15 picks, Ryan. 5 hits, 5 misses, 5 mez. Wow. Pick 16. Atlanta took A.J. Terrell.
This is a hit.
This a hit?
Yeah. A.J. Terrell's one of the better corners in the league.
Not bad. And I think 17's a hit too, obviously. C.D. Lamb.
Yeah, also a hit.
Yeah, this is a hit, right? He's legit a top 5 receiver in the league, right?
Top 3.
Top 3. we could kibitz a little bit on whether or not he's, just a numbers guy. Like, have you ever seen him wreck a big time game? I think that's a fair comeback, but I think he's legit. He's a legit good player.
He'll put a game on his shoulders once or twice a season. You can count on him for a huge game.
18, the Dolphins, Austin Jackson, offensive tackle.
I don't actually know a ton about Austin Jackson.
Is he still on the Dolphins? Let's find that out.
Yeah, he's still on the Dolphins for sure. I'm trying to remember if he had.
Has he started?
I have to tell you, maybe the fact that I don't hear that much about him is an indicator that he's good because he's an O-lineman.
I look at the fact that he's an O-line. Pick 18, my standards are different. If you got a guy and he's still on your roster and he starts and he's a contributor, like, to me, that's where you take a lineman and that's a hit.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, that's your starting tackle for the Dolphins. You want to talk about kibitz. Your quarterback is a meh because of his concussion issues, and we're talking about one of his offensive linemen.
Ooh, that's a good point.
But I think a lot of that has to do with Tua doesn't protect himself.
That's true too.
So I'll give him a hit.
Yeah, the one he got this year where he was running for a first down and he led with his head and got his squash messed up, I can't put that on the lineman.
No.
How about Damon Arnett, another Ohio State guy? The Ohio State guys, I don't think this was a good Ohio State draft so far.
I want to let me wax about this one for just a minute. All right. Because one of my best friends is a Raiders fan. And he was telling me, we need a corner. I want to take Damon Arnett. I think we're going to take Damon Arnett with our pick this year. I'm going to take Damon Arnett. And I told him straight up, brother, you don't want Damon Arnett. I said, that guy, that is the worst guy on our defense. He is an absolute liability. And I'm pretty sure he's in jail now.
Yeah, not good.
Believe it was a weapons charge for him.
I think you are right.
And you know what? Again, I'm not wrong often on the draft stuff. And I'm certainly not wrong often on the Ohio State guys. I'm pretty fair when it comes to the Ohio State guys. I'll tell you if a guy sucks. I did not like Damon Arnett coming out of college. I didn't like Damon Arnett in college.
What a disastrous draft for the Raiders. God, what a disaster that was.
Yeah, this whole, these two, the next two seasons, 20 and 21, just complete dumpster fires for the Raiders in all senses.
And it's like I'm trying to compare. You know what it is? It's like somebody who just wants toast in the morning. It's like, God, just give me some good toast, but you consistently burn the toast because you have no idea how to work the lever on how dark or how light you want it. Can't ever get it figured out in the toaster. You don't know if the back ones work differently than the front ones.
Correct.
And it's just they're constantly trying to figure out what's the right mixture for the toast. And they just kept burning it over and over and over again. To
put this in the context of my food service experience, they are the dishwasher on LSD trying to figure out how to run the sink with dragons in the bubbles. All right. They're the ones looking at me with big dilated pupils in the middle of dinner rush. I'm wondering why I don't have any pans, and they're saying, they're coming to get me, man.
Yeah.
That's the Raiders drafting in 20 and 21.
Oh, my God. 20, the Jaguars took Clavon Chason.
Meh. He's a pretty big meh. I mean, he'll contribute a little bit, but he's not a game wrecker. It's the 20th pick, so I guess it's not a miss. But
it's a meh. It's a pretty ugly meh.
It's whatever.
Big miss coming here, though, at pick 21, and you know what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Jalen Reagor from Philadelphia.
Now, you could make the argument here, right?
There's no argument that this is a hit.
Listen to me.
All right.
You could make the argument here twofold. One, this is a bigger miss because of who comes next.
That's correct. It's definitely magnified by who comes next.
And two, this was the last big mistake of the Philadelphia Eagles in the last 5 years.
That is fair, too. I can't argue with that. They really don't make a lot of mistakes since. And even in round 2, I don't think they screw up this draft.
No.
But that's a bad pick. Pick 21. It's a hit. The Vikings. Or pick 22, the Vikings take Justin Jefferson.
Other than Joe Burrow, arguably the biggest hit of the first round.
I think you're right. Huge hit.
Anytime you have a guy who's in the conversation of being one of the best of all time already, or on that trajectory of being one of the best of all time at his position, it's hard to say that that he's anything other than the biggest hit of the round.
So it is through 22 picks, 9 hits, 7 misses, 6 meh. Pick 23. The Chargers took Kenneth Murray, inside linebacker.
This is a miss.
It's a miss.
And
Nothing going on here.
Here's why it's a miss. You took a linebacker from the Big 12 who can't stop the run. He has one of the worst run grades every year. In 2022, he was 178th out of 182 linebackers against the run. Last year, he was 185th out of 189th.
That's not good.
That's a miss.
That's really bad. That's not good at all. How about the Saints at 24 with Cesar Ruiz, a center?
This feels like a meh to me, too. I don't feel like he plays a lot.
Is he still on the roster?
He is on the roster. He's playing guard, right?
Okay.
But again, I don't hear that much about him.
And they're not that good offensively.
I'll say this. He has played every season since he was drafted, and they're not cutting him.
But he's not a hit, though, because he's not an all-pro. He's not like...
But for the 24th pick in the first round to have a guard that's still starting for you,
yeah,
that's probably a hit.
I'm going to keep him in mad just for symmetry.
Okay.
Because I don't love him. I don't love him there. Next one is controversial. Brandon Ayuk.
This is a hit.
You think so? Because I think it's meh. He's not the best guy on the team. He's been a pain in the ass. He's hurt all the time.
It ended poorly, but the playmaking that he gave you when he was on the field is a hit.
You think so?
Yeah,
I'll give it to you, but I've found him to be very mediocre. Like, he got way more headlines last year for a pretty average player.
Yeah,
like, I don't think he's a great player. I'll give you the hit. But I just don't think he's that good. How about the next one, though? Jordan Love. See, we waited a while on this one. I think it's a hit. I think it's a hit because you take a quarterback, you're gambling here. With Rodgers still on the roster, you need to be right, and I think they've been right to a certain extent.
Hit.
It's a hit, but you're not happy about it.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it. Do I think it's as big a hit as they wanted? No.
Not yet.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think it's a hit, though. I think they gambled, and they took a lot of shit for it, and it's worked out. I remember Zach's reaction that night when they took him.
Yeah, he was not happy.
He was not happy. And it has turned out to be okay. You notice he's real chesty about Jordan Love now, though. You notice that.
Yeah, that's true. He is. That's correct.
How about Jordan Brooks to Seattle at 27?
This was one of those kind of stretch of weird picks by the Seahawks.
Yeah.
In the first round. Here's the thing. I have to qualify this for him because for his time with Seattle, he's a miss. But since he's been in Miami, he's been really, really good.
So do we have to meet him in the middle? Because it's a meh for Seattle, a miss for them, a hit for somebody else in free agency. How do we grade that?
I go miss because we're grading the pick.
Yes, that's true.
So I'm going to go miss with that.
All right. So we're up to 11 to 9 to 7 on hit, miss, meh. I think this is a hit coming up. Maybe, and for the Ravens, but now also for the other team. He's on Patrick Queen.
Where's he playing now?
Isn't he in Pittsburgh?
Oh, you're right.
He was pretty good for Pittsburgh, right? I think he did 4 years with the Ravens, and then he bolted.
I keep forgetting that he left. Yeah, he's elite. He's really, really good. One of the fastest linebackers in the league.
Absolutely, like Patrick Queen. Yeah, I like Patrick Queen. Isaiah Wilson for Tennessee.
I have to look him up. I don't remember that much about him.
Yeah, same with the next guy. I have no idea who the next guy is. Couldn't pick him out of a lineup.
Well, I know that guy. Give me 1 second. This guy.
I don't like the way he spells Isaiah. A lot going on in that Isaiah. Lot going on in the spelling of that.
Well, that's how it's supposed to be spelled.
Is that how it's supposed to be spelled?
Yeah, my
Isaiah. God, there's a lot going on there. It's too many I's. I don't need the second I.
That's the biblical spelling.
Is it?
It is.
That's on my. You read the Bible.
I don't anymore. I did for a long time.
But you used to for a while. You can chapter and verse that thing.
This guy's a miss.
Miss. So that gets 10 misses now.
I don't believe he's in the league anymore.
I think we've got misses coming the rest of the way. Next up is Miami's Noah Igbinoghene. Igbenogany?
Yep.
Easy for you to say. I got nothing on this one, but you could say his name, so he must be good.
He's okay. He's a free agent this year. I believe he had been with the Commanders. Let me look.
So we call this a miss or a meh?
This is a miss.
A miss.
I believe he either got traded or cut, but he ended up with Washington, and he's a free agent this year.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, so he's out there, but you'll go miss.
Yeah.
My next two are misses. Jeff Gladney to the Vikings, Clyde Edwards-Helaire for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Dead, so
yeah, cross him off then. So Jeff Gladney, regrettably, Jeff Gladney has to be a miss, unfortunately. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, though, I think they really hoped they had something with him, and then they ended up using Pacheco and everybody else in front of him instead. So I don't think he's the player. I mean, he was on the roster, but he was really not a factor the last 3 years of his career.
Yeah.
Maybe a meh.
I think he's a meh.
Meh. So that leaves us 12, 12, and 8. 12, 12, and 8. 12 hits, 12 misses, 8 mehs for round 1 of the 2020 draft. Just for the sake of argument, I want to just show you a couple picks in round 2. Because there were some good players in round 2 that you could evaluate later. That would be interesting. Round 2, the top of round 2 is pretty good, actually. They go T. Higgins.
Hit.
Michael Pittman Jr.
Hit.
DeAndre Swift.
Meh.
Xavier McKinney.
Hit.
And you go down the line, it's Kyle Duggar, Yetur Gross-Matos.
Hit.
Robert Hunt.
Miss.
Ross Blacklock.
Miss.
Jonathan Taylor.
Huge hit,
right? Laviska Shenault. A meh. Cole Kmet's a nice player. That's a nice hit. Grant Delpit for the Browns. But Antoine Winfield Jr., KJ Hamler. I mean, that's not a bad. Chase Claypool would have been okay. That's a weird one. Trayvon Diggs is in round 2. Jalen Hurts is in round 2. AJ Epinesa. What's that?
Cam
Akers. Ezra Cleveland, Van Jefferson, J.K. Dobbins, Josh Uche, A.J. Dillon. Round 2 was nice in this draft. Yeah. Round 2 was really nice.
There's a lot of starters in here.
Round 3 didn't add. I mean, it gets a little bit dicier. Obviously, a little more hit and miss as you go. But you still pick up Zach Bond. You still pick up Antonio Gibson in that 3rd round.
Zach Bond's arguably been better with the Eagles than he ever was with the Saints.
Yeah.
I think they just signed him to a new big deal, didn't they?
Jonathan Grenard was in the 3rd round. Devin Duvernay was in that round 3 of that draft.
Cameron Dantzler's playing in the UFL now.
Correct. So I actually really like this draft. Was pretty solid as far as depth goes, but round 1 was interesting for sure. What sticks out? What does that teach us now that we were a full 5 years removed from that draft? Does it confirm that there is no science to this, or can we start to see patterns where, like, yeah, we can see who the really good teams are and who aren't?
I think here's your pattern. If you want an NFL draft lesson, here's the big lesson, right? The team and the situation matters more than the player and the pick.
Mm.
And I think that the thing that we look at here are a lot of the meh players would be misses on worse teams.
Mm.
And a lot of the hit players would probably be meh on worse teams.
And you wonder too, you're right about situations, because you wonder if a Henry Ruggs ends up in, say, Green Bay, where it's not a rowdy town.
Yep.
There's a culture there. Or if he ended up in New England with Belichick at the time, like, there's culture there, there's accountability, there's grown-ups in the room. Like, it's not the Las Vegas Strip. You just wonder if the world's different.
Oh, the dream is dead.
What happened?
Joey Bosa to the Bills.
Joey Bosa to the Bills? Holy shit.
Oh, the dream
Breaking news. Now the Bills had to... I'm sorry, you okay? You want to talk about it?
I wanted him so bad.
I'm over it.
Me too.
Nobody cares about Ohio State, guys.
Hey, now.
Nobody cares. Next week on this podcast, you and I are going to break down the 2021 draft. We'll continue with more NFL roundup and maybe touch on some other things too as we get down to the nitty gritty of things in our speech season. Winding down, Rhino.
Yeah, I wish it weren't.
Yeah, you know what? I got to tell you, although, you know what, man? Here's what I've learned. This year, this is what I learned this year. There's no days off. Basically, the off season is what I like to call the second season, the next season.
Yeah, this is why I'm not coaching football anymore.
Because this is a full-time job now.
I'm all in on that.
As soon as the season, we're still meeting. Like you and I think you're still going to have to come in a couple times a week after school so we can talk.
All in. Let's do it.
Let's do it. It's going to be great. I can't wait for more. Rhino, I wish you well. I'm going to head off. I'm going to go play Paynes Valley. I'm on my way to Branson. I'm going to go play Paynes Valley, Tiger Woods design course. I'll give you my full review. Pictures coming. It should be a lovely, lovely time. And I'll tell you all about it. Road tripping, 9 hours in the car tomorrow. Oh, I'm also going to stop at a Buc-ee's. Your thoughts about brisket from a gas station?
Normally I wouldn't do it.
Seems risky.
However, from what I understand,
yes,
Buc-ee's is a different monster.
Never been in one. There is one in Springfield, Missouri on our way to Branson. We're stopping.
It appears that Buc-ee's, again, I've never been.
Never been. Me neither.
From my understanding, Buc-ee's has a semi-cult-like religious following.
A little bit.
I understand that there is talk of a Buc-ee's moving to Minnesota soon.
Which I'm against.
If that is the precursor to Waffle House, I'll live with it. This is getting a little off topic. I would chop off my own hand to get a Waffle House in Minnesota.
You would do unspeakable things for a Waffle House here in Minnesota?
I would pay with blood.
My only thing I'm worried about with Buc-ee's is do I have to own a pair of cowboy boots to go in there?
No.
I worry that that's a thing. I'm worried that it's going to be nothing but hats and boots, and I just don't have any of those things.
More breaking news, Kenneth Gainwell to the Steelers.
Boy, the Steelers starting to put some pieces there for maybe an Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
It's kind of like they got the table all set, but no chef to cook the main dish right now. The table's set, though. DK, Pickens, Freiermuth, Kenneth Gainwell, Jalen Warren.
It's kind of
TJ
there.
Watt on defense.
Got a decent O-line.
Table's kind of set. Kind of need a chef. Need a head chef.
I hate it. But sure.
We'll keep an eye on that. If that breaks while I'm at Buc-ee's, Ryan will take notes for me, and we'll talk it over my brisket sandwich.
Hell yeah.
That I get. And I'll tell you if I eat their brisket, I'll tell you if it's any good.
I expect you to.
I'll report back with a full report. Maybe I'll even bring you a Buc-ee shirt.
No, I'm good.
You wouldn't wear a shirt?
No, I've never been to Buc-ee's.
But it doesn't matter if you've been. You could wear the shirt and be a poser.
Yeah, I don't like being a poser. I want to know.
Yeah, good point. It's kind of like going to Wawa, right, down in the South. Everybody loves Wawa.
Wawa is Philadelphia.
But Wawa was in Florida, I remember, too, when I was down there.
Yeah, that's a Philly thing.
But that doesn't have a cult following either. The Wawa's not like Buc-ee's, is it?
It does in Philly.
Does it?
Yep. So I believe I'm trying to remember Wawa is. It's either Pittsburgh or Philly. There's Wawa and
7-Eleven.
No, hold on.
Is that dead? Is 7-Eleven dead?
Sheetz is the one in Pittsburgh.
Sheetz.
So, yeah. So that Wawa is headquartered in eastern Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Sheetz is headquartered in western Pennsylvania, and never the twain shall meet.
Oh.
They do not like each other, and the fans don't like each other.
And the Come and Go is not even. They're changing their name, which is a horrendous move on the part of the Come and Go.
What a horrible decision!
What a bad call! Bad call by the Come and Go. You have this cult following for a reason. Don't change what's working.
Anyway, I have a friend from Philly who once briefed me on all of the Wawa versus Sheetz drama.
I'm sure it's pretty intense. It sounds pretty controversial.
Anything
there's a lot
involving
going
Philadelphia seems to be intense.
Yeah, they don't seem real happy to just be. Do you ever just wonder if a Philadelphia guy wakes up in the morning and goes, everything's good.
It seems like they're fine. It seems like the people. They're people from Boston without the validation of being from Boston.
They're uptight just all the time. Well, it's because they don't even get at least with Boston, you can point to cobblestone roads and beautiful countryside if you drive like 20 miles north. Like what does Philly have? It's really
Jersey.
difficult. Yeah, it's Jersey, it's New York, it's just dirty all the time. There's the Rocky statue. Like,
But they love
what
it.
do you have?
They love it.
I think they get off on being miserable in Philadelphia. Like
Maybe
they get off, don't they get off on being cantankerous and being just pricks to everybody? I mean,
yeah, they have that song, we're from Philly, fucking Philly, no one likes us, we don't care. They throw batteries at Santa Claus.
Yeah, I'm not there on Philly. I can't get there. I'm good on you for winning your Super Bowl. But I'm good. I'm good if you never win anything ever.
More breaking news, Eric Stokes to the Raiders. Sorry. That'll be the last breaking news bit.
Very good. Boy, it's gotten hot and heavy here during the pod. If we wait 10 more minutes, we might find out where Rodgers is going. Who could say? Who could say? Is there anything you want to fill in? No, I'm just kidding. No, we're good. Hour and 20 is enough time for you and me to talk.
That is what you promised.
Yes, I did. And then we get off air. See, that's the thing. We'll do another hour off air, just talking speech and doing other things. So
that's true. We will.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Tim Anderson podcast. We appreciate you. Really want to thank you for the Oscars pod. Listenership on that was really good. My thanks to Allison and Lauren for carrying you and me on that one, Rhino. Good job by us. Good job by them as well. So keep listening to that. Listen to this one. I appreciate you. We'll be back at it next week. We'll talk 2021 draft next week. We'll also follow up on NFL Roundup and get you up to date on all things sports. We are going to do a kind of a couch session too at some point in the next few weeks. We'll plan for that. We'll let you know how it's going. All right. Till then, for Ryan, this is Tim saying keep your head up. And if I can find my button, we'll see you.